everybody, I'm Jen with JNT Creations and Allegory Gallery here in Ligonier, Pennsylvania. I have another fun tutorial for us to do today. So without much more ado, let's get going. And please comment, like, subscribe, and share. Let's get started. All right, so let's go over a little list of ingredients right now. I'm just going to show you a bunch of different baseline findings that you can make. You can play with the wire depending on your project, what you require it for. As we go, I will let you know which wire I'm using for which one of the projects. So let's clean up our workspace here. The first one I'm going to show you how to do is how to make your own jump rings. A useful skill to have because sometimes you cannot find jump rings in the store in the size you want for the project you need. That's where this handy dandy little tool, the multi-level, multi-tier bail maker, so you get 6 different jump ring sizes. Yo, that's awesome, right? Let me show you how to make some really itty bitty jump rings. So the end of that wire, I'm gonna tuck in so it doesn't get my finger as I go around. I can't feel it right there, it's in between that. And I'm just gonna flick my wrist. This is a 20 gauge dead soft wire. And I'm kind of pulling with my right hand so that is really tight on the mandrel. And this hand is just holding that wire steady. And it kind of warms that wire up so that it can harden. There you go. This is 20 gauge wire again, and it's dead soft. You could use half hard if you want. Just know that it is a little harder to work with. So let's say you've reached the end of your rope, so to speak. Use your flush cutters. Nip that off. The next step I'm going to show you on some of the larger size jump ring so you can see better. Let's go up to step number 3. This will be a 6mm jump ring. So once again, just curling. When that wire peeks over on the other side there, use your thumb and your left hand. If you are left-handed, then obviously you will be working in reverse. And make sure each coil lays real tight around that tool. Let's pick up the pace. See, all I'm doing is flicking my wrist a little bit. I am grabbing that wire and I'm rotating. So it's kind of like a sewing machine where that bobbin feeds it into the sewing machine. I'm keeping that tension with my fingers and I'm feeding that through. All right. This time we really have reached the end of our rope, and this is a large enough jump ring that I can show you how to finish these. So it helps to have really sharp flush cutters, like brand new. So I cut that burr off the end. so it's nice and flat. The next one I'm going to cut, and I'm going to do these one at a time because otherwise they can tend to get a little bent out of shape. I just made a little snip. Next one, just a little snip. And next one. So follow that line if you can. Oop. Just nipping, nipping, nipping. The other way you can make jump rings, and they'll be much more precise if your tools are not sharp or your eyes are not so good. They actually make a tool that is vinyl coated that will hold this entire thing, your entire coil of jump rings, right? And it has an opening so that your saw, little tiny hacksaw, little coping saw, jeweler saw, you can cut all of them at the same time. How about them apples? And then you won't have to do this next step, which is removing the burr. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus on that. Do you see how one end has that burr? You notice that is not going to go together nice and flat. We need to cut that burr off. So we have to take this tiny little jump ring, using the flat side now because that's where we want the flat to be, and you are just going to ever so slightly nip that end off. So that you have a nice flat jump ring. And let's use this opportunity to show you how to open and close a jump ring properly. So this one's already open. We're going to wiggle it just a little bit. I mean, just a little bit. It is dead soft wire. You don't have to manhandle this. And you just want to make those ends meet. Hear that? It's hitting the other side. So that's how you know you're all the way closed. Okay? Now say you've already got your jump rings all closed. I don't know why you would. Never open your jump ring like a Pac-Man mouth. No, no, no. It won't be round. Open it just enough to one side to get it through your project. Okay? See that? You don't have to open it a ton if the thing that you need to get it on is not large. All right, so that's jump rings. Let's move on to these little swirly links, shall we? This is going to be a large one. It's going to be 3 layers. So using a round nose plier, I'm using the smallest one on the multi-tier. Make another small swirl. Okay. That other one goes in the opposite direction. So now using my flat nose, I'm going to take that and continue to curl that like a snail. Until I have 2 layers, and then the third layer, you'll end with that open part of that first loop you made facing the rest of the working wire, facing inward. Now, the other side can do the exact same thing. I'm using my flat nose for this. Okay, And when you get to the end, if you notice that one side is bigger than the other, don't worry. Just kind of with one hand going one direction and this hand is going in this direction, or vice versa if you're a lefty. Just curl that until you have equal sides. This is the exact same process, only this is a smaller one. So that was 3 inches of 20 gauge wire I used on that. This is 2 inches of 20 gauge wire. So a little loop. Little loop, opposite direction on the other side. And curl that up like a snail. So now there's 1, 2, and the open end is pointing inward towards my working wire. Repeat on the other side. Okay. And work it just a little bit on each side until you close up that gap and your loops are the same size. This will take a little bit of practice, but don't worry, it's an easy technique to pick up. And there you go, there's a double. So triple and a double. If you want to add a little durability and a little different look to it, go ahead and use your rubber mallet or your chasing hammer and pound that out just a little bit. You could add a little texture with a rounded hammer. It's all up to you. Next up, this is 18 gauge. This is half hard wire. We're going to do a little swirly headpin. So, same idea. Make that little curl. And this time I want to close that curl all the way up, because I like a nice tight curl. There. Go ahead. This is half hard and it's 18 gauge, so it is a little tougher. Get a good handle on it with that bent nose plier. And I'm using this thumb to help push that swirl. You can leave your loops tight. You can leave them a little open. It's all up to you. And when you have, let's see, I used about 5 inches of this wire. I have about 3 inches left, so that's a nice big head pin. You could load up a lot of stuff onto it. When you have the size swirl that you want, go ahead and do at 90-degree bend. And there you go. You have a nice, strong head pin. This next one I'm going to show you. This is 20 gauge wire again. Show you with a little bead. Okay. So get that swirl started again. Just a little curl, like a J. You don't want a big curl. Stick that bead on. It helps to use a round bead, so let's use one that's more round. You're just going to stick that on that little J, right? Maybe. And now we're going to curl this wire. We're going to do a bigger J. There we go. Get that bead fit on there. Maybe. That's why you should use light colored beads for tutorials. I got a good idea. Ah, voila, look at that. It worked. All right, so now that you got your bead fed on, go ahead and let's curl that around. There you go. See how we've just used our hands. This is dead soft wire. So as long as you can see properly, it's relatively easy. When you've gone around as many times as you want and you have not too much but just enough wire left, there you go. There is a beaded fancy head pin. Okay, I'm giving up on laying that flat. Let's show you here. It's nice, it's organic, it's cute. Let's load up another bead so you can just see what that looks like. Ta-da! Isn't that adorable? I love it. This next one, you're gonna love this. It's super cute and tiny. Needle nose. You're gonna grab the very end of that wire. You're gonna go around like we're making the jump rings. Go slow. Passing where we started already. Keep going around. Keep going around. I'm gonna go around about 4 times. But actually that's only 3 on that one side. And now what I'm gonna do, keep that tool in there, I'm gonna give this a slight bend upwards. Right where that starting wire is. You can see that there. So 1, 2, 3. Up. Now, I'm going to feed the end of this wire through that coil. I'm going to grab it with a plier. And I'm going to hold that and gently pull. This is 24 gauge wire. 26 works real good too if you want a tiny one. And I'm going to say I'm going to use about 4 inches is what I had. And then just straighten that out. That is a super cute little knotted head pin. Let me show you with a bead what that's going to look like. Let's use one that's not the same color as the wire. That's a little knotted headpin. This one here, I am going to show you how to do a loop. So this is what, 7 inches of 18 gauge. I'm not going to go quite halfway. Let's see, let's go 3 inches. Yep, 3 inches. I'm going to do a 90-degree bend. Go up and around all the way. So we just made a super huge eye pin. You could either leave this plain or you can put a bead in there. You just got to make sure that you're using a large hole bead that's going to fit. Open that up enough for that bead to slide in. Hold that across with your needle nose. Starting position. And you want to hold this pretty firmly because it is going to shrink the size of your round there if you allow that wire to come from this end. You don't want it to do that. You want it to come from your working wire. So once you get around that first time, tighten that up as much as you can. See how we have that little gap there? We're going to work that closed and continue going around, stopping if you need to readjust. This is 18 gauge half hard, so we're going slow. Use a dead soft if you're just trying this out. Aluminum wire is also really great for practice. Okay, so I went around about 3 times. Now I'm going to make it just a little bit fancier. And I'm going to curl that end in. Same swirly technique. It does get difficult to hold, I won't lie. So practice on a smaller gauge, softer wire. And there is another super cute head pin. Let me show you a really quick and easy hook And it's basically a hook and toggle. So this is 7 inches of 18 gauge, half hard again. If you have a burr, cut that off. Hold that steady. All right. I'm going to do a little loop here. Oops. There. So there's my starting loop. Now I'm going to go on the top of that. And I am going to bring this all the way around into a figure 8. It's a very large figure 8 right there. When I get to that side, I'm going to take my flat nose and I'm going to give that a little bend outward. And I'm going to say, let's do about a 1/2 inch. And nip that off. Okay, so that's what it looks like now. There's a burr, so I'm going to cut that burr off. And now let's give it a little close. We're going to do just a little swirl. This is just super basic hook closure. It's already pretty tough, so you don't have to hammer it if you don't want to, but okay, so there's the hook part. Feel free to go up just a little bit further if you want. And let's do a smaller figure 8 now that it's going to loop onto. So making that loop on the one end again until you come to the other side. I'm using number 5. I'm going to bring that all the way around until you notice that's definitely in line with the open part. Now with my flat part, I want to make that cut right where those 2 wires meet. Why did I use the flat part of my flush cutters? Because I don't want to burr. And just work those 2 until they meet each other. And it looks like a continual figure 8. Give it a hammer if you want. And then there you go. There's your super basic hook and loop. Last but not least, let's do some ear wires because we all need ear wires, right? This is 2 inches of 20 gauge dead soft wire. You can go with an 18, but most people do not have holes that large, so stick with the 20 gauge. And about a 1/2 inch down, make that 90-degree bend. What do you notice I'm doing? I'm working them both at the same time. This way I know that my earrings are going to be as similar to one another as possible. And when I come all the way around that end of that tool, I'm going to let them go. We have like a weird cotter pin looking thing, right? Because from this point on, you can only do one at a time. So continue that loop through the other side. Continue all the way to the other side. Yep. Holding that with the needle nose, I'm going to wrap this around twice. The bent nose is always a useful thing to have. And just tuck that end in. Repeat on the other one. And sometimes that little tip of that wire just has a mind of its own. There. Okay, put them both together again. Get them on your nail maker. Come on now. Okay. Let's work these singly. Doing that 90-degree bend. Right at the top. Straighten it out. Now, let's stick that in there. That loop is facing the back. It keeps rotating on me. I'm sorry, I'm not used to working through a camera. All right, this is how I want it, okay? So we got the back, our 90 degrees is going in there. We're going up and around, and we're gonna bring that all the way until that touches that loop. Take it off your tool. "90-degree bend" goes in, up and over. I'm showing you a nice messed up one. so that you can learn how to fix it. All right, there we go. Okay, so brought that all the way around. Now I'm going to just kind of straighten that out a little bit more. I'm going to take my flat nose now so that I know exactly where I made each bend. I'm going to line it up with that bottom coil, and I'm going to give it just a slight bend. Ta-da! $90 if you want, but most of us don't need 90 degrees. All right, there's our ear wires. Ta-da! That was a struggle. All right, y'all, thank you so much for watching. These are, again, just some basic findings. They can be elaborated on. And once you practice, you're going to get them down and you're going to be making a ton of your own findings before you know it. Thank you so much for watching again today. I hope you had fun. I know I did as usual. Please post what you've created on Allegory Gallery Design Challenges on Facebook. I'd love to see what y'all have created with my little tutorial. So please like, share, subscribe, and hit the comment button and tell us what you'd like to see. Alrighty, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.